Hello and welcome back to another one of my top 7 lists. Today we're going to be taking a look at games that I think have the best combat systems. This is going to be a very personal opinion kind of thing. Obviously, this is going to be more games based off of that I have played and I personally think have the strongest and best combat systems to them. I have left out some very notable exceptions, just to name a few, is like Sifu and like Neo and games like that. So this is in no way comprehensive. This is a top 7 list, so I don't know why you would have went into this assuming that anything would have been close to comprehensive. And I totally expect quite a few of you to disagree. I'm also going to be mostly focusing on more melee action. In fact, I don't think I have anything that's like first-person shooters and stuff like that. That would be a different list, I think. My favorite types of combat systems are more melee-focused, things like Dark Souls and that kind of sort. I just wanted to make a list that was focused exclusively on that type of combat, and that's what I did. Oh, and one more thing before we get into this. With the exception of the last game, this is in no particular order. The last game is my personal favorite combat system and one I will defend as one of the best, if not the best combat systems ever made. But for the rest of this list, it is in absolutely no particular order. So with no further ado, let's jump right into it. The first game on the list is going to be Batman Arkham Knight. This I think has the best combat system out of any of the Arkham series, including in Origins, which I have not played as much as I really should. This doesn't necessarily mean I think this is the best of the Batman Arkham games, even though this is probably my personal favorite, but I think City is all around the better game. But Batman Arkham Knight's combat is a perfect conclusion to what Rocksteady was trying to build with the Arkham games. I think they absolutely nailed it here and have kind of achieved about as close to perfection as you can get with this combat system. It is truly phenomenal. On top of it being just an absolute visual powerhouse, truly one of the most flashy and beautifully animated combat systems of not only this list, but of all time. It's also just really good. A lot of games have tried to do this type of combat system. You see Sleeping Dogs do it. The Assassin's Creed games with 3 and Black Flag tried to do this. Mad Max did this. And no game has ever actually been able to, I think, really replicate the combat system of the Batman Arkham series. And a lot of what they struggle with isn't actually the feel or anything like that. It's the skill ceiling. This game can get pretty in-depth if you want to like get really into the combat. Unfortunately, I'm really bad at it, which is why you will constantly see me fucking hit people that are shocked in this game. I'm extremely bad at this combat system. It's just a lot of moving pieces and my tiny little baby brain can't necessarily keep up with all of those moving bits throughout this combat system. But if you know what you're doing, you can really do some cool shit in this game. The usage of the gadgets, how all of those work with the enemy weaknesses and all of that kind of stuff, just adds a lot of depth to this combat system that other games that try similar systems tend to actually fall quite short with. I think the best example is the Assassin's Creed game. Now, I love Assassin's Creed 3 and Black Flag, and I even think their combat system is more than serviceable for the game they're trying to go for, but when comparing that game to Batman, it's fucking rough. It's a much more shallow, much more easy kind of version of it. And that's just one thing I don't think these games get enough credit for, is just how complicated these combat systems are. Now, they also have a very low skill floor too. Like, bumping that game down to easy, you're gonna get through it with pretty much just smashing triangle constantly anytime you see that counter symbol kind of thing. You can definitely get through it by just button mashing. So this game, more than anything, actually, in order to really engage with the depth of the combat here, you kind of have to put in some effort. You definitely have to bump up those difficulties, and you have to make that conscious choice that you are going to try to run up those high combos, and when doing so, it is a fucking blast. Genuinely, scoring high combos in this game is a lot of fun, and it's really satisfying to do it. And another thing that Arkham Knight really incorporated that I think built this game's combat system really well is the alternate characters and how you can switch with them mid-fight by doing special takedown moves. I always thought that was a lot of fun, and I love switching to like Nightwing in the middle of a fight. Not only is it flashy and cool, it's also fun to see how different they feel, even though the mechanics are still the same, and a lot of their gadgets I think have parity between Batman and the other characters, they still feel different just based off of the difference in animation. And that's what I really like, is that this game's combat system is built off of the back of this really intricate animation system. And it's just a lot of fun. It looks cool. It feels good, and it's just an all-around really, really good combat system. If you have somehow never played through the Arkham games yet, highly, highly recommend all of them. Even Arkham Asylum, the progenitor of all of this, and definitely gets credit for inventing like an entirely new style of combat, new style of beat-em-up combat. Even then, still holds up remarkably well even today. It's not as good as Arkham Knight, because Arkham Knight really perfected what Arkham Asylum started, but all of these games are truly fantastic, and I don't think you can have a top 10 best combat list without adding in the Batman Arkham series. It genuinely, so much of modern combat systems are built off of the back of what Rocksteady has built here, so definitely think this is one of the best ones and deserves to be on this list. The next game on this list is going to be Ghost of Tsushima. I think I pronounced that right. I'm really bad at pronouncing this game's title. Fucking Japanese word. You should just be American like all of the real games are, or some fucking racist shit. Anywho, this is also a fantastic combat system. It's kind of one of my personal favorites. Not because I think it's one of the best combat systems out there, even though I definitely think it is. It's just really fucking cool. This, I think, is going to be the combat system that's here just purely because of the cool factor and the quality of animations here. This whole game is built around this concept of immersion, by immersing you into Jin Sakai's story and into the worlds of Tsushima, and this combat also embodies that same kind of philosophy, that very immersive quality. It just, this more so than any other combat system on this list is almost as fun to watch somebody be proficient at as it is to play and be proficient at. However, that is not to say the combat itself isn't also very satisfying. It can get pretty challenging, especially once you get up to the harder difficulties or lethal difficulty, one of the additions that came in after release, where basically you kind of can kill in like 1 or 2 hits, but you also die in like 1 or 2 hits. Now, this is a lot of fun to play around with, but it's actually not my favorite difficulty. I think just going to hard is more fun, mainly because that lethal difficulty really kind of devalues a lot of the boss fights a lot. They go a lot quicker than I would like, where in this game, I want my boss fights to be these kind of more long, prolonged duels between 2 fucking badasses. But with lethal difficulty, things go really, really quickly, which is fun to do, and I do recommend giving it a playthrough on lethal difficulty, but I think hard is where this game's sweet spot really is at. But the whole core of the combat system revolves around the stance system. So each of the different enemy types, from swords to shields to spears and brutes, all have its respective stance that you need to use in order to be the most effective against them. It gives you really good defensive aspects against each one of those enemy types, and its attacks are very specially curated to be the most effective against those types as well. And switching the stance mid-combat creates this sense of strategy in a lot of ways. You kind of have to have some tactics while approaching this, where you kind of have to select which target you want to go after or which one's coming after you, and kind of plan out your battle a little bit based off of the stance thing, because while you can switch stance really quickly and fast, you don't really want to be switching stances while being attacked by somebody. That's usually a recipe to fucking die. So you want to be in control of the fight. You want to make sure that you are going into each engagement, each little tussle, making sure you have the right stance before you actually get in there, because holy fuck can the enemies end you quickly in this game, especially with some of like the brutes or the spear people can really like eliminate your health bar in like 1 to 2 hits. Things can go very, very poorly for you extremely quickly. That's what gives this combat a really good sense of weight. You know, with just 1 or 2 mistakes, 1 or 2 fuck ups, it's all over. You are going to die, basically. The visuals work, and the sound effects and the audio-visual feedback that gets when you get hit is just really, really solid. It's intense, and it leaves me kind of flustered a little bit, like how you would be if you got hit in the middle of a sword fight. Dying in this game is also really not, I don't want to say satisfying, but kind of horrific in a way. Sometimes you'll lose health, and Jin will just be on the ground in like a dying state, and some guy will come up to you and shove his fucking katana directly into your spinal cord, and it just like immediately just goes black. And I've always found that really fun. I like when games have such a strong sense of you dying. Another game I think does this really well is Mirror's Edge. Falling off of a building in Mirror's Edge feels like you're falling off a building in real life. The sound effects, the sounds that are made, how it goes dark the second you touch that ground, it just adds this sense of weight to what you are doing because you don't want to fuck up. And that's the same thing here. You don't want to die here because it's just kind of visceral and horrific whenever you get that like final, that stab. And you can also do that same thing to other enemies as well. So you'll get done with like a big battle and you'll just see these people that are just like slowly crawling away, and you can go up to them and push like the end suffering button and just like fucking stab them as well. And it's a really gory and visceral combat system. And that again doesn't have a lot of the complexity as some of the other games on this list, and I would argue is probably the least complex combat system on this list. But it's the visceralness, it's the animations, it's how brutal these combat engagements are that really makes this a very exciting and fun game to play. And again, none of that's to say that this isn't a challenging combat system. You do have to be paying attention. You gotta, like I said, you kind of have to have a little bit of tactics when it comes to entering into an engagement to ensure that you have the right stances and you're not getting caught off guard or flanked or anything like that. And then you also have the ghost abilities, like you have your kunai and you got like smoke pellets and things like these that you can use to a lot of your advantage as well. And these are really fun. They make you feel like a complete fucking badass when you're just like whipping kunai into people and popping these smoke bombs and sneaking up and slicing their throat and all of that kind of stuff. It just feels really fun and good, and I really like this combat system, and I've always really thoroughly enjoyed my time in Ghost Tsushima, mainly because of its excellent combat system. Next up, we've got Bloodborne. I'm using Bloodborne as kind of a stand-in for all of the best of the Dark Souls-like combat. Not necessarily the best of the From Software, because I think Sekiro is very separate from this, but Bloodborne and Dark Souls and Elden Ring kind of go together, and Bloodborne I think does it the best. While this isn't actually my favorite From Software game, that goes probably to Elden Ring and then maybe even Dark Souls 3 before Bloodborne, its combat is truly something phenomenal. I really like that they just removed your ability to block here, and I think they balanced that very well. There's also less weapons. It's kind of less of an RPG as a whole. It's still very much an RPG, but there's a lot less you can do to your characters in a way. The builds are a little more homogenous between different players, and that's because there's like, what, I think 10 weapons? Please correct me if I'm wrong, but I didn't look it up. I don't know how many weapons are in this game off the top of my head, but there's a much more limited amount of weapons in this than there is in like Dark Souls and especially Elden Ring. And I love that about this game because each one of the weapons feel not only wholly unique in terms of its move style, its play set, and all of that kind of stuff, each one is just cooler than the fucking last. There are no dud weapons here. The closest you got is probably the axe, and I fucking love the axe. It's why it's in the gameplay I'm currently playing right now. However, with that being said, the best weapon is the fucking saw cleaver, and I will not hear anything about it. It is clearly the coolest weapon of not just Bloodborne, but I think all video games ever. It is such a fucking badass weapon, and I totally understand why that was like the weapon in the marketing and why it's on like the cover, because it's just really sick. But like then there's also this like cane whip that's also a lot of fun too. I really like that weapon. You got sword hammer. I've never actually played too much with that, but it's fucking funny when you just shove a sword into like a hammer that's on your back and then it becomes this massive hammer thing. That's fun and tight and cool as fuck. I think that's the best way to describe this game's combat system, is it's just really fucking cool. It's just so epic and awesome, but mechanically it's also just as powerful as well. Because one, you have that rally system, and this is one of probably my favorite aspects of this entire game. I think this is what makes this combat system so satisfying to do, and it's just a small little addition. The rally system basically works that whenever you take damage, as long as that gray health doesn't disappear yet, if you attack an enemy, you can regain some of that health. And what this allows is for you to be a lot more aggressive than you can in Dark Souls. That rally system is, I think, what really just, it's the secret sauce that brings this all together kind of thing. It just feels really good. It works extremely well for the pace of this game's combat, and it requires you to be a lot more aggressive, incentivizing and basically pushing the player into more aggressive play styles that Bloodborne very much demands. The speed of this game is balanced because of the parry as well. It's a lot easier to parry things, and I like that it's related to your gun usage. There's a limited amount of parries you can do based off of the amount of ammo you have for your gun at that time. You run on ammo, you can no longer parry kind of thing. Ammo's not hard to get at all. You'll probably never run out of it unless if you're really abusing the parry in this game. So it's not like it's that big of an issue, but it's a resource that you have to kind of keep track of and pay attention to that I like, and I think makes this game better in a way. But parrying itself is a lot easier in this game than it is in the Dark Souls one, which is kind of nice because it forces you into that more aggressive play style. However, the best fights in this game, my favorite part of Bloodborne, is the fight with the other hunters. It always is a blast when another hunter shows up, mainly because like getting into a fight with another hunter is like this elegant dance between two fucking badasses, and it's fast, it's frenetic, it's fucking bloody as hell, and it's just really fun. They're definitely the outstanding fights in this game. Well, fighting beasts is also a lot of fun in this game. I'm not gonna like shit on that too much. It's the humanoid people and humanoid enemies that I think where this combat system really shines. I don't know what I really can say about Bloodborne. You've probably played it or seen it. Everyone knows about the quality of Bloodborne. This game is truly a masterpiece. I love it. You love it, we all love it, and this game's combat is definitely the peak of Dark Souls. Up next, we have Devil May Cry 3. Now, I have a bit of a confession to make here. Despite really liking this series, putting a lot of time in both 1 and 3, and even doing a run-through of 2, and enjoying my time with 4, I have yet to play DMC 5. Why? I don't fucking know. I just, for some reason, have yet to play it. Anytime I have a desire to go and play Devil May Cry, I always just gravitate towards 3 for some stupid reason. I got no excuse there. It's kind of an embarrassment that I have yet to actually play through Devil May Cry 5, and if I had, I probably would have put that on this list instead of Devil May Cry 3, but I can really only put what I have played on this list, and Devil May Cry 3 is the one I put the most amount of time into. So I'm not trying to say Devil May Cry 3 has the best combat out of the series. I think that title goes unequivocally to 5. Even though I haven't played it, of what I've heard and seen of 5, I think that game probably has a better combat system than 3. But that is not to say 3 does not have one hell of a good combat system. I love me some Devil May Cry. Now, I am not going to fool anyone here. I am not a Devil May Cry master. I am very much a novice at this game, and that's even still kind of pushing it at times. I can roll up some decent combos and that kind of stuff, but like, I ain't looking flashy. I don't know the cool super secret tech that allows people to get those insane fucking scores. I have no idea how to do any of that. I just love going into this game and trying to look as stylish as possible, and that right there is why Devil May Cry is so much fun. All of the other games in this video, and a lot of other games outside of this too, the combat is just about winning. It's about surviving. This game, it's about looking fucking cool. And that's such a unique and interesting dynamic in a video game, and it doesn't sound like it would work, but holy crap does it work well. It works so well. You know that thing in video games where you will watch a cutscene and see your character be badass and cool and all that kind of stuff, and then you'll get into the game and you're like this weakling, you're just kind of pathetic, and it's just really underwhelming? That doesn't exist here. That's not a thing. You look as cool in game as Dante looks in the cutscenes, and it's amazing. A lot of the same moves he does in the cutscenes you can even do in game, like riding on people people. A downed enemy, you could just jump on their back and then you just like ride them around like a fucking skateboard around the arena while you're just shooting haphazardly at everything around you. It's really fucking cool. And trying to get those bigger combos and get that stylish meter up as high as possible it's never not addicting and a blast to do. I don't give a fuck about just trying to survive things. I always just have a desire to get as high of a stylish meter as possible, even if it results in my death. I don't care. I want that S ranking. It makes the brain go burr, and I'm addicted to trying to get those S ranks. I love it so much. And one thing you can do to kind of help that out is Dante also has a taunt in the game where if you just hit like the select button, he'll do some kind of fucking taunt and that will raise your stylish meter. And I've gotten myself into quite a bit of trouble trying to use that just because it's funny, but it's so important to the game too, because it really helps kill time. Like when you don't have an enemy near you and you're trying to get them closer to you, you could pull out a taunt. So not only is it just like a cool and funny thing you can do, it's also essential to your combat loop as well, and to maintaining a high stylish meter is that you can actually pull out those taunts. The combos in this game are also really good. None of them are super difficult. You're not like pulling out like Street Fighter combos or anything like that, but they require a little more precision and consciousness than the next game we're gonna look at. They're I think just complicated enough to make you have to be like really careful on what you're doing and to be like conscious of the button presses you were doing without actually taking anything away from the game and being these like long strings you have to memorize. They're all very intuitive, usually involving like pauses, like the million stab or whatever it's called with like the sword. You have to like hit triangle, pause, and then you have to like hit triangle again and then repeatedly smash it. And it's not an intensive combo to pull out. It's actually pretty easy, but in the heat of battle, it can be sometimes a little more difficult. And so it takes a lot of practice and skill to be able to whip that out whenever you want. And so that's kind of something that Devil May Cry does. And this next point is going to be directly tying into the game after this. And I wonder if these clues you can figure out which game comes next. You don't just get to implicitly look badass in this game. You don't just go out of the gate and immediately look badass. It requires a little bit of practice, a little bit of effort. Now, the skill floor isn't terribly high in this game. It's not Sifu or anything like that. That game kicks my ass something fierce. With a little bit of practice and a little bit of play, I think most players can get decently proficient at this combat system to make it through the entirety of the game. So it's not like it's got this massive skill floor, but it requires a little bit of practice to finally be able to like actually look like cutscene Dante. But I believe anyone can do it. Then that skill ceiling is sky high. Like I was saying earlier on, this game takes some time to get very proficient at, and I will never be a top tier Devil May Cry player. I've already accepted this, because the amount of dedication and effort and skill that is required to actually hit those upper echelon tiers of skill it's remarkable. It's very much a difficult game to master. There is no game that fits the easy to play, hard to master than Devil May Cry. However, with that being said, the bosses will fuck you up in this game. I have always struggled with the bosses, especially that Cerberus in the beginning, like the first boss in the game. I have beaten him probably like 10 times. I still die to him every single playthrough of this game, at least once or twice. His second phase just ruins me every single time. I'm always caught off guard by how shockingly difficult the first boss in this game is. But while being difficult, they are all fantastic. Well, maybe not all fantastic. They're all really solid. They're not the best bosses in video games, but I think they all serve this combat system very well. The ethos of the combat shifts whenever you go into the bosses. Instead of just trying to look as stylish as possible, the bosses are a lot more of a fight for survival kind of thing. Now, once you get good at this game, bosses also are just another part of the game where you're trying to look as stylish as possible. But I'm still at the skill level where the bosses, my victory is not an assured thing. I gotta put some work to try to survive some of those, but they're all very fun and very satisfying to beat. Devil May Cry 3 is just a truly excellent video game. If you've never played through the Devil May Cry series, I actually think 3 is a really good place to start. While I love the first game, and it's really good, 3 is where they finally actually figured it out and figured out what they were doing. 2 is an abortion. We don't talk about 2, but 3, this is where they got Devil May Cry right. The first game's still great, by the way. Don't think I don't love that game equally. It's just, it's a very different video game than what we get with Devil May Cry 3 and on. Phenomenal video game. Highly recommend. One of the best combat systems ever made. And you may have guessed it, the next game is of course going to be God of War 3, DMC's cousin. Of course, the reason why I'm putting God of War 3 here as opposed to 2, which is actually my personal favorite of the trilogy, is God of War 3's combat is just perfect. They perfected what they were going for with God of War 1 and 2 and did a really good job at building upon it here. But unlike DMC, this is like the approachable version of the character action game. And that's not to say this is a bad combat or a simple combat system. Oh, on the contrary, but it's very approachable. The skill floor, I think, is much, much lower here. And in doing so, the skill ceiling's also not as good. This is why you'll sometimes see like Devil May Cry fans shit on God of War for being a worse version of it, and they're not wrong. It's definitely nowhere near as technically intricate, as deep as the DMC games, but that don't mean it's not a absolute blast to play through. The combos are even easier to pull off than in DMC. The most common combo you're going to do is like square, 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 triangle to do that like big jump up into the air and hit the blades down. Or you have a lot of powerful combos by just holding like L1 down and pushing square. Triangle does some really flashy things as well. So they're a lot easier to do the cool moves in this game, which is why I kind of brought up that thing in DMC where you got to kind of work at it a little bit in order to kind of get to that badass level, to looking cool in that game. In this game, you really can just hit square and look really cool. And that's what makes this a much more approachable game. This is your everyman's character action games, where DMC requires a little more finesse, a little more practice to get proficient enough to be able to get through the game. This game, really anyone can. It absolutely can be reduced down to button mashing. Now, engaging outside of that button mashing, you get a very satisfying and fun video game. I think the combat in this game is a lot of fun. When you turn this game up to like the harder difficulties, it requires you to really pay attention and know what you're doing, to take proper defensive measures, and to kind of have control over the engagement properly. So don't take what I'm saying here as an insult towards the combat, or me saying that it's lesser of a combat system than DMC. It really is just a different game that is going for different things. And what God of War is going for, it absolutely nails. It's going for that raw, epic power fantasy. You are this Greek god just fucking slaying shit kind of vibe. One of the things that's really nice about God of War 3 versus like 2 and 1 is I actually think the sub-weapons in this game have a lot more use than they do in 1 and 2. I didn't really ever use the secondary weapons that much within God of War 1 and 2. The Blade of Artemis, I think it is, in God of War 1 is decently useful, but it's just not like the best thing ever. The blades are still definitely the superior weapon. And then I just don't care about the hammer and that weird staff thing in God of War 2. The blades are always the superior one. But whoa, the other weapons in God of War 3 are quite strong and solid. The gauntlets you get from Hercules are fucking fun to play around with. The summoning blade hooky things you get from Hades is also a lot of fun. There's just some genuinely good weapons in this game, and I really liked that they fixed that problem from God of War 1 and 2. And to help encourage you to use more of those weapons is, unlike the first game where you have all of your magic abilities, no matter what weapon you're using, this game, each of the magic abilities are tied to the certain weapons. I think this was a good change. I think this helps encourage the player to have to experiment with other weapons to use different magic abilities, and they're still just as cool and as badass as they've ever been. They are just flashy, fun, and oh so powerful. The enemy variety, of course, has always been great in these games. I think some of them, not only are they visually excellent, being just very well designed, that not only fits the Greek theme, but just look really cool itself, they're also mechanically quite fun. There's a lot of repeats from the other games. Obviously, you got your Minotaurs, your Gorgons, your Harpies, your like zombie fucking guys. But I think they did a good job at kind of updating them for the newer generation in this game. They look and feel similar similar to what they did in God of War 1 and 2, with just enough difference that makes this feel unique. Where the enemies in God of War 2 were basically just the same ones as God of War 1, this one they updated a little bit. This one feels more like a sequel than God of War 2 did, which just kind of felt like an iterative thing. This one feels, it's clear they're on a new system with new technology and a new engine, and I really liked that. The bosses in this game are really, really solid. I've loved every single boss, from Hercules to Zeus at the end. Spoilers, you kill Zeus. Ooh, not only is this a 15-year-old game, it's very fucking clear from moment one what your goal is and that you're probably going to be successful. Poseidon is awesome. Hades is awesome. Atlas is a really fun and cool fight. I think it's Atlas. It might be. No, it's what's the Titan that you rip the fingernails off of? Kronos? Clyde? I don't know. The fucking Zeus's daddy, right? When you go down and like fuck him up, that's a lot of fun. That's a good fight. It's more of just like a big QT cutscene, but it's just really, really cool. And that's one of the things that this game does particularly well, is that all of the bosses have this amazing cinematic flair to it. And you learn this immediately once you fight Poseidon. And some of the cutscenes that happen during the Poseidon fight are just phenomenal, which leads us into the QTEs. I fucking love them in this game. Okay, to be fair, I love QTEs. I've always liked them. I think they get a lot of undue hate. I think they're a fun way to add a more cinematic thing where the game can direct the animations more properly while still keeping the player engaged with what they are doing. I think it's a good way to link up cutscenes and interaction decently well, and God of War does it very, very solid. I like that a lot of the finisher moves, you have to go through these QTEs. One, they're never so challenging that they become frustrating, but they're not necessarily super easy too, especially once you get to the analog sticks. I'll fuck them up every now and again, so you gotta kind of pay attention. You can't just completely disengage anytime you get into a QTE, which is why I think they work so well, because you have to keep up your attention even once you go into these cutscenes. But the animations that are associated with these QTEs are fucking phenomenal in this game. Really, really cool. And that's really just the best way to sum up God of War, is it's just epic. It's just a cool video game. If you have never played through the God of War games, I really do recommend them. They're just fun. They're really just fun video games. I also really like the remakes too. I'm just gonna say that. Not remakes, the reboot series. Big fan. I like God of War 2018 and Valhalla, but I will always have a special soft spot in my heart for the original God of War trilogy. Excellent video games. Highly recommend. Excited but cautiously optimistic about whatever this trilogy remake is going to be. But I hope it's good. I don't want it to suck. That would be unfortunate, because I love God of War. Yeah, that's it. I love me some God of War, and I think you should play it if you haven't yet. The next game up is going to be Monster Hunter Rise. Now, I love me some Monster Hunter. I'm a big fan. I jumped in on the boat around World, like most people fucking did. I'm a fifth fleeter, and while I really like World, I'm not gonna say World's anywhere near a bad game. Rise I like a lot better. Now, it's not my favorite Monster Hunter game. That goes to Wilds. I think Wilds is shaping up to be probably the best Monster Hunter game, and then once we get its Master Rank expansion, I think Wilds is going to be truly a remarkable video game. But as it currently stands, now that Wilds base game is finally done, it's a phenomenal base game. Really excited for the expansion. But Rise is. Oh, this game is fun. Now, while I don't think this is the best Monster Hunter game, I do think it has the best combat. I love this game's combat. It's so fast and frenetic, and it really makes you feel very powerful. This is the most empowering Monster Hunter game. In most of the other games, Wilds also is more skirting this line, but definitely from World and anything in old gen, you were always like a David going up against a Goliath kind of thing. You were this small, pithy little fucking guy with maybe a big sword, and you would just go up against these behemoths, these larger than life monsters and usually get your shit kicked in by them a couple times before you're finally able to scrape victory from the jaws of defeat. Not in Rise. You are the motherfucking boss in this game. You are the boss fight for the monsters. You are so fast to do in large part to the wire bugs. You get just insanely powerful doing, again, in large part to the wire bugs. You were anime as shit, again, doing exclusively in large part to the wire bugs. If you're not picking it up, it's the wire bugs. It's the wire bugs that I love so much. I'm glad they're not like a staple in Monster Hunter anymore. I'm glad that like this isn't gonna be the gimmick that is in all of the Monster Hunter games. But I'm so happy we have a game with them because they are fantastic. They are so much fun to use, and before, if you wanted to look anime as shit, you kind of had to pick up the longsword. Not here anymore. Every weapon you look anime as shit. You can fly up into the air. You can basically fly in this game due to these wire bugs, and it's fantastic. This goes into like the exploration as well, but just its utility in its combat is really good. It also gives you some defensive options where you can kind of like do that wire bug away quickly thing after getting knocked down that if you're not careful with will punish you. You could absolutely get killed by that, and some of the enemies or monsters are designed to counter that really well, where if you are not careful when you do that wire bug away move, you will just get punished and they will kill you. It's good. It's just so good. It's such a good Monster Hunter game, and it gets a lot of shit for being this portable game, and I think that's completely unfair. It is definitely a portable game, but Monster Hunter has always had portable games since Gen 1, and this is just a really good example of that. The fights are a lot faster than you see in other Monster Hunter games, and that kind of serves the pick up and play nature to this. It's a very arcadey Monster Hunter game, and I really like that. I like that we have this. While it's not my favorite, and it's not the trend I want to see this series go, I like that we have the switch between the main line and then you have like these much more not casual but arcadey portable games, because there's no such thing as a casual Monster Hunter game. They're fucking complex. Even this one, which is a lot more approachable than even World is still a pretty complicated game. But if you've ever played Monster Hunter, where the combat really begins to shine is in the weapons. For this one, I've played a lot of the Insect Glaive when it first came out, and in my most recent playthrough, I've been using the Switch Axe, which is the gameplay you are currently seeing. But there is 14 weapons within Monster Hunter, and each of them are as in-depth as the last. These things take a long time to master. It can take about 100 hours to sometimes really get a good handle on the weapons and how to use them properly, and to really know when to pull out each one of their combos, to have a good feeling on the defensive maneuvers you can do and how to like avoid or block damage depending on the weapon. It takes a long time to master. Where Rise really is even better than that is you have these switch skills that I love. Now, switch skills I wish would come into Wilds, and I really hope something of the sort does. This kind of was started with Generations Ultimate. You could do kind of different styles for each of the weapons. What this means is that there's a lot more play styles in this game than there is weapons. You can take two people that are playing the same weapon, but with different switch skills, and they're going to have very fundamentally different play styles. And I really like that. I think it gives this game a lot of depth. If you want to master all of the weapons, this game will take thousands of hours to do so. So they're just these really big and difficult combat systems, and they're fantastic. And Rise, I think, has the best of this. It's just so tight and frenetic and fast, and it feels so much fun to fight the monsters in this game. And the monsters are just fantastic. I love all of them. Magnum Hollow is my favorite flagship. I will fight you on this. Fuck you. Magnum Hollow gets a lot of hate, and I don't know why. I love Magnum Hollow. Again, favorite flagship. Maybe it's just weird, demonic, fire, cat, bear thingy. I'm not quite sure what Magnum Hollow is, but he's cool. He's really, really cool, and I love his purple lightning. But all of the monsters in this game are fantastic, and that gets even double when it comes to like Sunbreak and its expansions. And this game can get difficult. These monsters can get very, very challenging. While Rise is probably, at least the base game of Rise, is the second easiest Monster Hunter compared to like Wilds, this game is not afraid to get really, really difficult. And some of those later master ranks are very, very challenging fights. And it's such a fun combat system. And I love all Monster Hunters. Every Monster Hunter game I've played, I have fallen in love with it. But when it comes to what I think is the best, the peak of the series in its raw combat, I think no further than Rise. And if you have yet to play this or any Monster Hunter game, if you haven't played a Monster Hunter game, I actually recommend going to play Worlds. I think that's the best entry point. I mean, Wilds or World. World's also a really good entry point too. Same thing with this. All three of these games are really good entry points, but I think Wilds is the most approachable and it's the current one. But if you have played those and you've never touched Rise, I highly recommend to go and pick this game up. Just expect something a little different than the other Monster Hunter games. Like I said, it's a lot more arcadey and a lot more combat focused than what we see in the other Monster Hunter games, but it's so good. So good. And now we are at the end of the list. Number 7. The one game that is actually ranked as I think this is the best combat system ever made is Sekiro. I fucking love Sekiro. Holy shit, is this game good. It is hard, though. Holy fuck, does this game beat me. I've never beaten it. I have played a fuck ton of hours of Sekiro through multiple different playthroughs. I have never rolled credits on this game. I don't even know how close I was to rolling credits on this game. But even then, I know this is the best combat system ever made. And I will fight you. I fuck you. It's the best combat system ever made. Not only is it the peak of From Software, it's peak. It's just the peak of all gaming. We did it. Clearly, I'm not alone here, because ever since this came out, it has fundamentally changed the landscape of how we actually create combat systems from now on. A lot of like the posture and stun meters we see in the more modern fighting games, even the most recent one I played, which was like Samson, are all derived, I think, in large part because of what Sekiro built up. Its posture meter in this game is so good. I fucking love like the posture meter and parrying enough of the attacks and finally being able to get the death blow, and the sound effects and the visuals that are associated with those death blows are just fucking great. Everything about this combat is just a lot of fun. It's very challenging and very demanding, but once you get the hang of it, once you can kind of start getting those parries down and you get the timing, it really makes you feel like a cool ass ninja. I guess ninjas didn't do a lot of fighting, but a cool cool dude with a katana. You just feel like this absolute god, this king of sword fighting, and you're just fucking laying people down as you go through this beautiful, dark Japanese fantasy world, and it's fantastic. The shinobi tools are also another really good addition to this game. While I know you can use them a lot more in combat than I tend to only use them when you have to, like the firecrackers during that like raging bull fight, or the using the axe against the shield people. They're all just really satisfying. The shurikens are really useful as well. The shinobi tools just add a lot more depth to this combat system, but I just love that katana play. I love the core sword play that I just mostly focus on that. There's also a really good skill tree here that unlocks some really nice moves and combos and things like that. Like the Mikiri counter is still one of my favorite moves of any video game ever. So satisfying to actually be able to pull off, and it's demanding too. I still fuck up the Mikiri counter all the time through my playthroughs of this game, but anytime you get to pull it off, it just feels great. You feel like a god, and then you get that fucking nice death blow, and it's just this game is so much fun. This is the first From Software game to really incorporate stealth as well. How the stealth blends into the actual combat is really cool too, because if you sneak up on an enemy, even a boss, right, if you can find a way to sneak up on like a mini boss and you can do a death blow from behind them, like there's this samurai really early on in the game, there's a couple samurais really early on in the game you could do this to. You could sneak up behind them, pull off a death blow, and then you have one less death blow you have to deal with. And I find it really fun to sneak around, to play that ninja role, and then do a death blow on an enemy and then engage such an epic one-on-one fight. And the sound effects that are associated, especially with like the parry and the animation, oh, it's so good. I forgot the name of the boss. Genichiro? I'm sorry, I butchered that, but I'm not gonna look it up. If you parry him enough, you get this like really cool like animation where you just like point your sword at him. There's a lot of little details like that just make this feel like such an epic sword fight anytime you were fighting a boss. And it's hard to not play this and really feel like this has some of the best sword combat ever. It's just it's satisfying, it's visceral, it's frenetic, it's challenging, it's so challenging, but it's infinitely rewarding, and it's just a lot of fun. It's just really, really good, and the bosses are fantastic. Some of them are bullshit. That fucking bull can go fuck himself. I hate him so much. He is the worst to fight, and this game would be better with him out of it. But a lot of the bosses, most of the bosses, are really, really, really fun. Some of them are really unique as well. There's this one fight where you are on like this bridge, and you can't actually do any damage to him, but you can damage his posture. But the goal is to perform a death blow, and in the process of that death blow, you'll kick him off of like the bridge, and so he's supposed to fall to his death. And it's a really challenging fight, but it's just a blast, and it's unique, and I've never really seen anything quite like it, and I love it. I love the combat in this game, and I know I just keep repeating that, but if you haven't played Sekiro, you can't understand, man. You can't understand until you have experienced it. You've been in the shoes of the shinobi and have done these death blows yourself. It feels so good. There's no other combat system quite like it, and that's definitely why this is my favorite one. Not only is it mechanically great and the enemies complement the combat system so perfectly, it's also just visually my personal favorite out of any combat system I have ever played. It's beautiful and it's fun, and that's why Sekiro, I think, is the best combat system ever made. If you have yet to play it, I strongly urge you to do that. Prepare. It's hard. It's a very hard game. It's probably the hardest one I've ever played, but it is a infinitely rewarding video game, and I highly recommend it. And definitely, without any doubt in my mind, Sekiro has the best combat system ever made. And that's going to be it for this list. I had a lot of fun making this one. What I do for these lists is I actually go back and play through the game. So I got to replay some of my favorite shit. And that's when I really realized that Sekiro was my favorite, because that was the most fun I had out of this entire list. It was a lot of fun to go back and play through these games. And if you haven't played through any of these, put them up on your backlog. Put them high up on your backlog. All of these games are worth playing. It's not just the combat. Every single one on this list is just a really solid video game in more ways than one. They just all have a great combat system as well. And so I hope you enjoyed this list. I will probably be making another one. You can kind of consider this my 100 subscriber special, I guess, because the last one, I don't want to say it went viral, but I'm very happy with how it performed, and I hope you enjoyed. And if you would please like, comment, subscribe, share the video, do whatever you have to, and I will catch you on the next video. Goodbye.